with me. So it's like, damn, this is super aligned with the level that I'm at right now.
Yeah.
And anytime, that's exciting anytime you find that. You know
That was
that. It's like, holy shit,
like
yes.
last year. That was a really intense time. I was going through like a major like transformation. You know,
Yeah.
I was I have periods of my life where I went in and out of like doing good and doing bad, you know. And
Yeah.
like but this time everything like clicked. And I got like started changing my diet, got heavy into meditation, started like every day just listening all day long nonstop to all these different people. Abraham Hicks, like what's his name? The British guy, Alan Watts.
Oh,
Um,
Alan Watts.
yeah,
Absolutely.
Earl Nightingale, all these different people. And like it all just was clicking. I kept absorbing it and absorbing it and absorbing it, and like I couldn't stop, you know.
Absolutely. I know exactly what you mean.
So, tell me a little bit about envisioning hope, and where that came from.
You know, I part of my awakening, I don't know if you're familiar with a festival called the Envision Festival, um, but a huge part of my awakening, and really the thing that broke my heart and mind wide open, I was a police officer
Okay.
after I got out of the military, and I went through this 12-week Awaken the Warrior Spirit program. You know, everything was going well in life. I just got really content
Yeah.
and really just kind of mundane and not really setting goals for myself, just kind of coasting through life. And I have a buddy that I went to school with that moved to Costa Rica many years ago. And he hit me up out of nowhere. He's like, hey, I'm starting this online program, Awaken the Warrior Spirit, to teach you about spirituality, how to eat properly, and whatnot. You know, living from the ego and living from the analytical mind, I'm like, you know, I'm not really into this hippie shit, you know? So I was like, you know, I'm not really interested. And then another buddy of ours joined the program, and he made a video. Part of joining the program was to do a Facebook Live video stating why you're doing the program and what you look to get out of it.
Yeah.
And when I was watching his video, it was just like everything he was saying. If I had my eyes closed and I didn't know the difference in the voice, I could have swore it was me talking to myself.
Oh wow.
It was like everything this guy was saying was resonating so deeply. It started triggering all these different negative emotions. Like, holy shit, you know, like you're really not holding yourself accountable because you're hearing this stuff and you're being triggered left and right.
Yeah.
You know, what's going on? So I called my buddy back and I was like, hey, man, I'll do the program. And we did a phone interview, and he was like, you know, it's going to sound bad, but you're going to be a really difficult one to deal with in the program because I was all like posting all about Trump and all this ego shit, all this political stuff. It's like, he was like, you're really going to be tough, but, you know, I would like you to be in the program. So Rewind went through the program, really had some profound experiences within it, and he invited me to Costa Rica to attend this transformational festival called the Envision Fest. And you should look into it, man. It's really powerful. And I get down there, and man, I felt like a fish out of water. You know, I got the military haircut, super militant, and I get down there, and it's all like dreadlocks and chicks with hairy legs, and I'm like, what the fuck did I get myself into? What have I done?
Yeah.
And so the first night, everybody kind of did their own thing and took some psychedelics. And I was like, you know, I'm not touching that stuff. You know, that's not familiar with my territory. Haven't scoped the place out completely to feel comfortable with it. So I kind of sat back. I drank a couple beers, and they all went to bed, and I was kind of sitting off in the darkness smoking a cigarette. And I know this is a really long story. I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
Kind of sitting off smoking a cigarette, people watching, and I was tense as hell, so I was like cracking my neck, and this lady comes up to me. She's like, made small talk, asked for a cigarette. I gave her a cigarette, and then she went on her way. Well, 5 minutes later, she's back as I'm cracking my neck, and I open my eyes again. She's right there.
Oh my god.
She's like, you're really uncomfortable, aren't you? And I'm like, yeah, like I'm really questioning what the hell I'm doing here. And so, yeah, long story short, she really opened me up through some breathing exercises and some different things. And so Envision came from that mostly.
I got it.
And envisioning hope is like, everybody is so pessimistic in our society, man. And hope is something that people lose sight of when they're going through hard times. So
Yeah.
envisioning hope just kind of resonated deeply with me. So
Yeah, man, that's
it's really
cool.
fun.
It's funny, we ended up at like similar places, but I was completely opposite of that. Growing up, my granddad was like into shamanism, and we made Native American things together, like turtle shell things and shakers, and did pottery and talked to ghosts, you know. And I was always spiritual, and I always talked to God, and I always was into that. And my psychedelic experience was a car accident when I was 11. We hit a tree. Well, I was 11 or 12. We hit a tree, and I had the experience of being all things where God was like, you know, when you fall in love with somebody, that feeling you get inside, that's what God was in that moment to me. And I was inside of it, and I was spread out, and this old man like came over my head, and he just like comforted me, and like I went to the hospital. An angel in the helicopter knocked the IV bag off the ceiling because like I was dying, and the IV bag fell on my face and like woke me up, and I like got to the hospital. Man, it was crazy. And every single day since then, I've been going towards this thing, you know.
Oh man, that's beautiful.
It was it's crazy. Like every night when I go to sleep and I close my eyes, I'm trying to sleep. If there's no sound on, I go through the car accident, and it
Yeah,
like I go through it, and like it's part of my meditation a lot. There's a lot of lessons from that experience, and you know, I'm not really smart with all this stuff. I just learn a lot. You know, I never stop. I'm in a job where I can listen to it all day long, and like I'm not satiable, and I want to spread the things that I've learned through all my past traumas with everybody else. You know,
absolutely, brother.
give somebody a leg up maybe.
Mm-hmm.
So
Absolutely.
I just got a text that said Trump was just impeached. Is that
That's so
true?
funny. I just said that. I don't know. I quit paying attention to that shit shortly after I came home from Envision Fest. I realized how toxic I had become, losing
Yeah.
friends and not caring and not talking to certain family members. It's like, dude, what?
Yeah.
Over what? What are you doing, man? So yeah, I had an awakening that really changed my perspective.
Yeah, I had a question actually. I posted on Facebook. I didn't get a lot of comments, but one person asked, you know, how could a cisgendered straight male shed that toxic masculinity, and how could they, you know, use that to excavate that negativity out and that toxicness out of their bodies, and how do they change that? And like, you know, what do you think?
Well, awareness is the first thing, obviously. Um, Surrounding yourself with heart centered men, um, and in situations like, for me, I live in a very conservative minded area. I live in southern Ohio, so it's like the tip of the Bible Belt, if you
Yeah,
will.
yeah,
So it's really just being aware and surrounding yourself with good company, and then on a personal level, having practices to bring your awareness to that, such as meditation,
absolutely.
or whatever your practice may be, to bring mindfulness to your own actions and your own truth. So
It takes a lot to go inside of all the decisions you make each day, and figure out why you make them, and how you really feel about it. Like how you really feel about something's different than how you feel about something, because
right,
everybody's constructed this in you. And when you're small, you're a child, you make decisions, and you make them because you feel a certain way. But that changes, you know, and it's hard
absolutely,
to teach someone who's been doing that for so long that it's okay to let go of all that pressure. You know, like
absolutely.
I don't know how men were in your life growing up, but for me, if you did anything even remotely pink, they would tease you and like destroy you basically.
Yeah.
Were people like that in your experience?
Not to the harshness, not on that spectrum end of the spectrum, but I grew up playing 3 sports, so I was on a sports field
Yeah.
year round, and so um, yeah, it was like that.
Yeah.
If you got hurt, it was get up, rub some dirt on it, walk it off. You're okay. Stop being a girl. Stop. You name it. You insert the degrading,
Yeah.
toxic masculine
Yeah.
sentence.
And there's nothing
Yeah,
wrong with saying, brush it off, but maybe say it, hey, brush that off. We can all be strong.
right,
Maybe it does hurt, but feel that and learn from that and
right,
learn not make that mistake again. But we
right.
don't have to be like insulting anybody for any reason. If I feel like nobody wants to bring up the other people around them because then they won't get whatever it is that they want. And I think we
Yeah,
should
absolutely.
really focus on making sure everyone around us is successful. You know.
Absolutely, absolutely. We come from a place of fear and scarcity, and instead of realizing that when you live from heart center, life can be so abundant
Yeah.
with anything. We are abundance. Our soul creates abundance for us, and we fight against it. But by programming our young people to suppress that side of themselves and confuse them, but by telling you're not hurt,
Yeah.
but you're feeling inside like I am hurt. I am hurt, but you have this strong male figure that you look up to is like you're not hurt. It's like okay, I'm not hurt. It just starts perpetuating the programming, the egoic programming,
Yeah.
the toxic masculine programming.
And it goes so much deeper than that too. Men hold a lot
Yep.
of trauma deep inside, and like they treat it differently, than the feminine energy side would treat it. And I feel like men with psychological problems or men with emotional problems don't get any help. They don't even know to look for it because they've been taught, that's not a man. You can't do that, you know. And
Right.
so we have to bring the awareness that it's okay to be weak because your weakness is the strength you're showing that you can change, you
Absolutely.
know?
Absolutely. That vulnerability is huge.
Yeah.
And men have always, not always, men in my experience have always suppressed that within the youth and within themselves.
Definitely.
So it's like even if it's not following the verbiage they use, or it's following their example
Yeah.
of never seeing the strong men in your life cry,
Yeah.
never seeing them weep, never seeing them, whatever it may be. If you're talking on those deeper levels, it's like it doesn't matter if they never say anything to you about sucking it up or suppressing it. You are seeing them always be okay,
Yeah.
and it's not reality.
No,
It's
not
not.
at all. And you made a good point. It's about example. It's not about really telling our kids anything other than this is what happened in my personal experience. We should let them have experiences and make mistakes and get hurt, get injured, get their hearts broken. We need these things to happen, but we shouldn't judge, we shouldn't control. We should just set a good example and be vulnerable ourselves and show them we can change and learn and that our ideas and our mindsets can change too, because we're not any different than they are. We're still the same thing we were when we were that age. We just got taller.
Right.
So we have to have a good example that you don't just magically transform in the chrysalis of adulthood. You know, it's
Yeah,
we're
absolutely.
growing too, and we have to set that.
Absolutely. And that's what working with youth that come through the court system. That's what a lot of times they come from homes that the parents aren't um, always thinking of their child's best interests.
Yeah,
So I always have to remind those that I work with is listen, your parents are growing too. Your parents could be just as lost, if not more lost in this reality than you are.
yep,
To learn to give them grace. And, that's hard to teach teenage boys that have been fending for themselves because their parents haven't done anything for them, and it's like they have this attitude like screw them,
yeah,
they haven't guided me, they've let me experience everything to my own detriment, not allowing and still like guiding in the right direction instead
Yeah.
of showing them. And one thing I want to say too is, speaking of masculine energy is what is done to my daughter. We're speaking of our roles as little boys and looking up to men. In my experience with my teenage daughter, it was a huge thing as far as modeling what I wanted, consciously modeling what I wanted her to become.
Mm-hmm.
When I was living from ego and living from a competitive state of mind where you have to work harder than the next person if you want a leg up. And not that I had ill intentions, but that's just always what I knew. And instilling that in her, and her being an empath, and feeling the weight of that pressure, and feeling the weight of not making a mistake for fear of disappointment or fear of judgment from somebody that you look up to, it really did a number on her personality as far as being a perfectionist and having OCD when it comes to little things being perfectly in place. I always tell people the hardest part of my transition and my awakening, what isn't the awakening itself and finding out this new knowledge and making shifts within myself. It has been dealing and giving myself grace with the things that I caused for the first 30 years of my life, and really learning to give myself grace for the damage that I still see coming out today. I can't, a couple years of one thing doesn't erase 10 years in a child's life, so yeah, absolutely. And the masculine and feminine energies are embodied in both male and female, and I know you know that, but for whoever's watching, I don't want people to have the assumption that when we talk about masculinity, we're talking about just men. We're talking about more of a direct energy, more of a focal energy, where the feminine is the creative, free-flowing energy.
Yeah, we're talking about the source of the energy itself, not any kind of gender.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And I think that as men too, in our recent past, we were hunters, and we look at everything as some sort of an object to gain. And if we can teach young people to not look at other people as if they're objects to gain, we really need to eliminate that, because no man should look at a woman and say, I want that, that should be mine. Instead, they should say, wow, their energy is perfect for me. And that's something that's really difficult to get rid of because of our society. But what are we going to do? We're just going to teach as best we can, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So it starts with real people. It starts with us, you and I, making mistakes, figuring this stuff out. But we can do it.
Absolutely. And mistakes are encouraged.
Yep.
Right? And it's how you learn. It's how you grow. You never learn anything from sitting on the sideline and watching others fail.
Yeah, I agree.
And I've been guilty of that. Going through trainings and the various things that I've done in my life, where there's been something that I've been unsure of. There's been times where I've sat back like, oh, watch 5 other people do it before I try it.
Yeah.
So just a fear of judgment and fear of failure.
Yeah.
It gets everybody.
I mean, there's always this secret level of, I want to look good in front of all these people. Always, it's there. Even on YouTube, even as we
speak, brother.
Right. And growing up, there's this secret little ego part of you that sets up situations that you want to happen so that people can think that you're cool.
Yeah.
And that's crazy. Just be you, because whoever that is, that's always unique, and it's going to blossom into something amazing. But kids, they can't handle it, especially the way we're raising them. We need to help them identify as an entire universe, not as a single person.
Absolutely.
But well, cool, man. How about we end it, because this has been a really nice conversation. And
absolutely, I forgot we were recording, man.
Did you really? Oh,
I did. I was, mid-conversation, I was like, shit, did he press record or?
Yeah, I did at some point.
This is good shit.
You got Palo Santo going?
Oh yeah, brother.
Good.
Yes. Yes, sir.
Well, that's awesome. I mean, is there anything else?
You're awesome, man.
Anything else you wanted to get into?
Um, Not this time.
All right.
I think we did a good job, man.
I do too. Let me hang on. The screen went black. I want to make sure it doesn't turn this thing off. Okay, it's still going. Man, I'm really glad we finally got to talk.
For sure, man.
So I'll shoot this over to you in a little while, okay?
Okay.
All right, thank you.
I appreciate you, brother.
Appreciate you too, buddy. We'll talk soon.
Blessings, man.
All
See
right,
ya.
love you.